Welcome all. The poem The Forsaken Merman by Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold was a poet and critic, and he was born in 1822. He was the eldest son of Thomas Arnold, the great headmaster of Rugby. He was educated at Rugby, Winchester, and Balliol College at Oxford, where he won the Newdigate Prize for Poetry. He became Fellow of Oriel College and Inspector of Schools, a post which he held for the greater part of his life. Arnold's first volume of poetry, The Strayed Reveller and Other Poems, was published in 1845. Among other poems, this volume contained the famous poem The Forsaken Merman and the well known sonnet on Shakespeare. The poem The Forsaken Merman is one of the most commonly anthologized of Arnold's poems. Arnold's unsuccessful love for a French girl is at the back of the poem. The merman is a projection of none other than Arnold himself. The Margaret whom the merman pines for is the French girl torn from Arnold. The Forsaken Merman, like many other poems centering round Margaret, derives its power and piquancy from the unhealed wound in Arnold's personal life. In the poem, the first stanza consists of 9 lines. In this stanza, the merman tells his children to move away from the shore back to their habitation in the depths of the sea. His fellow mermen are calling out to them to return. He says, tumultuous winds have started blowing over the shore, and the high tide is separating land from sea with the fierceness it is creating in the waves. The wild white horses that were galloping on the shore risk being swept away in the stormy weather. The merman then proceeds to lead his children towards his home, pointing the way out to them. Then the second stanza consists of 6 lines. In this stanza, we are first introduced to an absent female figure, for the merman entreats his children to call out to her just once before they begin their journey homeward. Then we come to know that the absent woman's name is Margaret, the Margaret woman was loved by Arnold in his personal life, and the absent woman name is Margaret, for the merman is sure that if the children call out to her by that name, she will be able to recognize their voices. Finally, we realize that Margaret is actually the merman's wife, because he tells his children that their mother is very fond of their voices and will surely return if she hears them. And the third stanza consists of 7 lines. In this stanza, the merman tells his children that their mother will not be able to bear the pain in their voices as they entreat her to come, and will surely listen to their appeal. The children must call out to her once before leaving and tell her that they will be unable to wait for her on the shore any longer, for the weather has gotten altogether unbearable, as one can see from the featuring of the horses on the shore. Then, in a gesture of desperation, he himself calls out to his wife by her name twice. Again, the fourth stanza consists of 7 lines. Continuing with the Forsaken Merman explanation, the merman urges his children to stop calling out to Margaret and start on their way home. They must glance only one last time at the white walls of the buildings in town and the diminutive grey church that stands at one end of it, on the shore. Seeming to give up hope, he tells his children that their mother will not appear even if they keep calling her name the entire day. The fifth stanza consists of 18 lines. In the stanza, the merman asks his children whether it was yesterday when they heard the bells of the church ringing as they were resting in their caverns beneath the sea. He then goes on to describe the tranquillity of those caverns, saying that they are embedded with soft sand and are both cool and deep within. The lights from the shore almost die out by the time they reach the caverns. However, this low light creates a magical effect as the seaweeds sway in time with the current of the water. Sea beasts live all around the caverns and feast on the slime on the sea floor. Sea snakes are visible as they are coiled and uncoiled themselves as they are coiled and uncoiled. So are whales, which seem never to sleep but rather to keep swimming continuously till they traverse all the sea and oceans of the earth. This stanza ends with the merman once again asking if was yesterday that the musical sounds of the well were heard by them all. And now comes to the next stanza. The sixth stanza consists of 16 lines. Sixth stanza consists of 16 lines. Here the merman continues questioning his children and asks whether it was yesterday when their mother had left. He starts reminiscing about how Margaret used to spend her time on a red gold throne in the heart of the sea, with their youngest child seated on her lap. In fact, it was the child's hair that she was combing when she heard the bells of the church, sighed and said that she must go there, where her kinsmen are all praying since yesterday is on its way, and if she doesn't pray, then she will lose her soul. In reply, the merman had told her to go up to the church, finish her prayer, and return swiftly to the underwater caverns when they stayed. She had left with a smile, but he cannot remember where it was yesterday. His grief over the absence of his wife has made him lose track of time so much that he isn't able to recall how long she has been gone. And the seventh stanza consists of 21 lines. Here the merman asks the next logical question to his children whether they have been living without Margaret for a long time or not. The smaller children start to moan about how stormy the sea is getting. He then urges his children again to get going, saying that the prayers of human beings must take a long time indeed. He recalls how they had started the day walking up the beach till they reached the town on the shore. The narrow paths leading to the church were deserted. From inside the church they could hear people praying, but they did not go in. Instead, they went to the cemetery behind the church and stood on the gravestone to look into the church through its window. They saw their mother sitting by the pillar, and the merman called out to her, asking her to hasten to the place where they were all waiting for her. For the smaller children were growing anxious about the stormy weather. He himself felt that they had been away from her for a very long time. However, Margaret was staring into the Bible so intently that she overlooked the merman. The priest was praying loudly and the door remained closed. This is why he has been telling his children to stop calling out to their mothers and begin to their journey to go to their home. The eighth stanza consists of 23 lines. In this stanza, the merman tells his children that they must go down to the sea, for their mother appears to be happy on land, as she sits at the spinning wheel and sings joyfully about all that she sees in the human world. However, the note of mirth is not pure, as the spindle of her wheel drops down to the ground, and she stoops to pick it up. For a moment she gazes longingly out of the window at sea, and as she remembers her husband and children, she sighs and sheds tears. The ninth stanza consists of 17 lines. 16 lines. Here the merman tells his children that when the evening falls, their mother will be able to hear the storm, the gust of wind, and the roar of the waves. From their dwelling beneath the sea, they will also be able to see the light from the shore shimmering on the surface of the water, making it take on the hues of amber and pearls. However, by then the gap will have gotten too large to bridge, and a prophetic voice will say that since their mother has been faithless, she will never be able to return, and they, the kings of the sea, will live alone forever. Now it's the tenth and the final stanza of the poem, consists of 21 lines. Here the merman tells his children that at midnight the violent winds will subside, the moon will come out from behind the clouds, low tide will set in, the sweet air from the grassy areas will blow over the sea, and the rocks will cast their shadow on the sand. At that time they will again make the long journey into town and towards the church. While returning from there, they will sing about how a loved one of their lives in that town, but that she has been cruel enough to leave the kings of the sea alone forever. I hope you enjoyed reading the summary of the Forsaken Merman by Matthew Arnold. So, this was the summary of the story, The Forsaken Merman. Thank you.